Happy Wednesday to you, but this probably won't be uploaded until Thursday. See, haven't I always bragged about how I can read people pretty well and, size people up and that type of thing? Well, hopefully this will be my final video that at least partially relates to my philosophical disagreement with the woman named Victoria, aka my non-leather life. She and I had a discussion today through Facebook. We exchanged Facebook inbox messages. And she ended up confessing something that I already knew. I think I said it in one of my videos. She ended up confessing something that I already knew. And I appreciated her being honest. Here's what she basically confessed. She really didn't understand Mo 1. She didn't. And I knew that all along. I'm like 99% certain. I said that in one of my first videos when I started talking about it. I said, I don't believe Victoria truly understands Mo 1. And she admitted today through our Facebook conversation she didn't. Even though she owns the book, and she owns at least 2 of my books. She owns, I think, the paperback version of Mo 1, the 2006 version of Mo 1, or she might own the 2017. I'm not actually sure which version she owns. She owns either the 2006 version of Mo 1 or the 2017 version of Mo 1. If it's 2017, it would be the ebook, not the paperback, the ebook. And she owns the audiobook version of Who Said Again. Okay? But anyway, she admitted today in our exchange again 2 things, basically. She did not fully understand what Mo 1 was all about. And number 2, she didn't really understand the distinction between Mo 1 and Mo 2, which I also knew already before she admitted it. She didn't really understand the difference between Mo 1 and Mo 2. Now, in her partial defense, there's been some other people who have had that confession. The last time I talked about a guy who confessed pretty much the same thing was, I did a live stream earlier this year. I think it was in mid to late March. And I talked about how a fraternity of brother of mine who I went to college with, he knew about Mo 1 way back in the mid-'80s, back in like 1985. He knew about Mo 1. Yeah, he knew about Mo 1 way back in 1985. Matter of fact, I mentioned him in the acknowledgement section of my Mo 1 book. If you look at the acknowledgements in the 2006 Mo 1 paperback, and I believe the Mo 1 ebook as well, he's one of the names I mentioned. I'm not going to say his name on this video, but he's one of the names I mentioned in the acknowledgement section. And anyway, he called me. It was around mid-March of this year. And he had listened to an interview. I was interviewed by 2 guys, one a fraternity brother of mine named Dr. Michael Blanchard, and another PhD, Dr. Rick Wallace. I think the interview is still on YouTube. I forget what the channel's name. Something with the word black in it. I can't remember what the rest is. But yeah, his name is Dr. Rick Wallace, and my fraternity brother who interviewed me, his name is Dr. Michael Blanchard. And I lost my train of thought for a second. Oh, yeah, my other frat brother who called me, he said, Alan, man, I got to confess to you, man. He said, do you know all these years, you're talking about almost 40 years. He said, all these years, man, I really didn't understand Mo 1. And I was surprised. I said, really? He said, nope. He said, I ain't going to even lie to you, man. I didn't really understand your motivation for being Mo 1 until I listened to that interview with Dr. Rick Wallace and Dr. Michael Blanchard. He said, before I listened to that interview, I thought Mode 1 was all about trying to get laid with women as quickly as you possibly can while using X-rated or triple X-rated language. That's what I thought the primary motivation and objective of Mode 1 was to try to get laid as quickly as possible using X-rated or triple X-rated language. And I said, interesting. Yeah, I was kind of surprised when he told me that. But he said after listening to that interview with Dr. Rick Wallace and Dr. Michael Blanchard, he realized it was about more than that. Same happened with, this woman never failed to understand, but remember the infamous story when I did one of my first speaking engagements, which was in January of 2006? There was this woman that approached me at a party in Chicago for upscale black professionals. She was a friend of one of my cousins in Chicago. And she approached me and she said, Alan, I heard you wrote a book about that helps men get pussy as quickly as possible. Yeah, I said, that's what you heard? She said, yeah. I said, well, why don't you read the book? Because once you read the book, at the time, it was just an ebook. I didn't even have a paperback version yet. I just had an ebook. But I told her, I said, if you read the ebook, you'll realize it's more layered than that. And she said, okay. And I gave her a month to read it. She read it in 2 nights and loved it. And she ended up saying, she said, you were right, Alan. Your Mode 1 approach is much more layered and has more depth to it than I thought. And now coming back to Victoria. Yeah, Victoria, she admitted that she didn't really understand. See, here's what a lot of people think, similar to my frat brother who called me in mid-March. Most people who come across Mode 1 think it's some kind of magic technique for getting women in bed. It's some kind of magic technique for getting women in bed as quickly as possible. No. I'm not saying you can't get women in bed fairly quickly while being Mode 1, because I surely have. A lot of people know my stories. But that was never the number one objective of Mode 1. Even though it happens, it has happened for me and a lot of my clients, that has never been the number one, either the number one objective of Mode 1 or the sole and specific objective of Mode 1. Think about verbal seduction story number 1, which is probably of all the 6 verbal seduction stories in my book, Ooh, Say It Again, that I talk about the most. And I get the most feedback from listeners of that audiobook. Think about how everything unfolded in verbal seduction story number 1. I started off for about the first hour and 15 minutes of that triple date being Mode 2. I basically exhibited a lot of the characteristics of Victoria's runway concept for about the first hour and 15 minutes of that triple date. Then I got frustrated by the way she was talking to me and treating me. Then I momentarily transitioned from Mode 2 to Mode 4 and finally to Mode 1. But what made me transition? You can say to both Mode 4 and Mode 1. What made me transition from Mode 4 and Mode 1? Was it a strong desire to get laid? Nah. If you think that, then you don't know the story or don't understand the story. That wasn't what led me to Mode 1. That wasn't what led me to Mode 1. Well, first Mode 4 and then Mode 1. See, what led me to be at first, for at least a minute or so, Mode 4, and then transition into Mode 1, was not so much my desire to get laid, even though I did have a desire to get laid, but that wasn't the number one thing that propelled my behavior. My number one motivating factor for being mode 4 and then mode 1 with that woman was I did not want her to continue wasting my time with unproductive conversation. Drops mic. Yes, sir. That was my number one objective at the time when I stepped outside my friend's apartment complex and was walking around outside. She came out and followed me. That was my number one objective, much more than getting laid, was I did not want her to continue wasting my motherfucking time. Shout out to Al Pacino in the movie Heat.
I paged your ass all day. I can't stand fucking page. Oh, man, you're a speed freak, jacking methamphetamine again.
Oh, man, where's your empathy, brother? It's a substance abuse
Empathy
problem.
was yesterday. Today, you're wasting my motherfucking time.
Don't waste my motherfucking time!
When he says that, you know that's one of my favorite scenes in the movie Heat, is when he tells his confidential informant, he says, today, you wasted my motherfucking time.
I paged your ass all day. I can't stand fucking page.
Oh, man,
you're a speed freak, jacking methamphetamine again.
Oh, man, where's your empathy, brother? It's a substance abuse
Empathy
problem.
was yesterday. Today, you're wasting my motherfucking time.
Don't waste my motherfucking time!
Today, you wasted my motherfucking time. See, some of you all, I can tell by the things you say that there's some men out there, y'all don't mind women wasting y'all time. Whether it be 20 minutes of your time, 30 minutes of your time, 45 minutes of your time, an hour of your time, longer. Some of y'all, honestly, sincerely, man, y'all don't mind women wasting your time. And if you are in that category, I guess I can say more power to you, man. You got more patience than I do. You really do. You got much more patience than I do. See, I've explained this multiple times before, but I'm playing again about myself. I'm speaking for myself. I don't like anybody wasting my motherfucking time. There's times I've been close to physically assaulting people. And I'm not saying that lightheartedly or facetiously. I've been close to physically assaulting people because they wasted my motherfucking time, man. That's how much I hate having my time wasted, man. I've been close to literally, like, getting into physical fights. If it was a man, getting into physical fights with them because they wasted my motherfucking time. I admitted it on live stream. I was reluctant to admit it, but I admitted it. Man, there's probably been 4 or 5 times. I've been tempted to. I never have. I want to point that out. I never have physically hit a woman, but I've been tempted to. There's been at least 4 or 5 times I was close to hitting a woman for wasting my motherfucking time, man. I don't like people wasting my motherfucking time.
I paged your ass all day. I can't stand fucking page.
Oh, man,
you're a speed freak, jacking methamphetamine again.
Oh, man, where's your empathy, brother? It's a substance abuse
Empathy
problem.
was yesterday. Today, you're wasting my motherfucking time.
Don't waste my motherfucking time!
If you don't remember anything else about AlanRogerCurrie, keep that in mind. If somebody was be talking to you, I don't know how to function, and y'all got to talking about me, and you said, man, what stands out to you about AlanRogerCurrie? First thing you should say to that person is, AlanRogerCurrie don't like people wasting his motherfucking time. I don't like nobody wasting my motherfucking time, man. And this is what my frat brother didn't realize for almost, 37 years later. Again, he became familiar with Mo 1 when I first started being Mo 1, which was back in the 84-85 school year at Indiana University. He was one of the guys who was like an eyewitness to the early stages of me being Mo 1. But he admitted early this year, man, he basically said, I thought Mo 1 was about getting women in bed as quickly as possible by using X-rated or triple X-rated language. And today, that's what Victoria confessed. In so many words, these weren't her exact words, I'm slightly paraphrasing words, but this is what she essentially said. She thought the only difference between mode 1 and mode 2 was the difference between quick escalation. PUAs like to use that word, escalation. Kino escalation. They cracked me up with that, man. Yeah, pretty much all conventional PUAs and dating coaches who endorse indirect verbal game always use the word escalation. But what she basically ended up telling me is that she said, Alan, I thought mode 1 represented quick escalation to sexual dirty talk with women. And mode 2 represented more slow, progressive escalation to sexually provocative dirty talk. She said, again, those weren't her exact words, but essentially that's what she said. She said, that's what I thought the difference between mode 1. And see, that's why she didn't view herself as being a flip-flopper. Like, as you know, she's been pretty upset over the last few days because a lot of my followers, subscribers, and supporters have labeled her a flip-flopper. And we talked about that in Facebook today. And she didn't really understand why she was being viewed as, because again, in her mind, here would be the best way to put it. Victoria looked at the difference between mode 1 and mode 2 the way I would look at the difference between mode 1 hardcore and standard mode 1. Yep. That's how she looked at mode 1 versus mode 2. She looked at mode 1 versus mode 2 the way I look at mode 1 hardcore versus standard mode 1. Now, of course, I'm in favor of both mode 1 hardcore, standard mode 1, and mode 1.5. I'm equally in favor of those 3 variations of mode 1. But I frown on mode 2 and mode 3 and mode 4. I totally frown on mode 2 and mode 3 and mode 4. See, but if you're looking at mode 1 strictly from the perspective of, is this going to help a man get laid? Then that's when you're not going to really pay attention to or notice the distinctions between all of those modes. You're just going to be thinking, well, mode 1 helps man get laid. Mode 2 helps man get laid. So what's the problem? Here's the problem. Mode 2 does not prevent women from wasting your motherfucking time. That's the deal. And again, that's what my frat brother realized when he heard that interview with Dr. Rick Wallace and Dr. Michael Blanchard. In a nutshell, what he ended up telling me was, he said, Alan, it wasn't until I listened to your interview that I realized that at least half of your motivation for being mode 1 is to prevent women who are not interested in having sex with you from wasting your time. More so than it's about just getting some pussy. You don't like women wasting your time. And I was like, exactly, bingo. I don't like nobody, really, male or female. But as it relates to dating relationships, of course, I deal with women. I don't like any motherfucker wasting my time, man.
I paged your ass all day. I can't stand fucking page.
man,
You're a speed freak, jacking methamphetamine again.
Oh, man, where's your empathy, brother? It's a substance abuse
Empathy
problem.
was yesterday. Today, you're wasting my motherfucking time. Don't waste my motherfucking time!
In other words, I don't want to meet a woman, say at a coffee shop, and talk to her for 35, 40 minutes, and we have this friendly, flirtatious conversation, but then at the very end of the conversation, when I say, hey, we should get together sometime, she says, oh, sorry, Alan. I'm sorry, I have a boyfriend. Sorry. Now, in her face, I'm probably going to play it off like, oh, okay, that's cool. Well, it's good meeting you anyway. But as soon as I leave, as soon as she leaves, I should say, man, I'm going to be pissed. I've experienced that in my younger years. And I've known multiple, like probably hundreds of my male friends and acquaintances who've experienced that anger that you feel after you know you just engaged in a 45-minute conversation with a woman for nothing. For nothing. And see, this is why I frown so much on most variations of indirect verbal game. See, a lot of guys, conventional PUAs and dating coaches who promote indirect verbal game, they'll have you believing that if a woman agrees to go out on at least 2 dates with you, that means that 95 to 99% chance she wants to have sex with you. That's bullshit. I'll put any amount of money against anybody against that who wants to disagree with me on that. That's bullshit. There are women who will go out on 10 dates with you and never, ever give you no fucking pussy. And there are, on the flip side, there are women who won't go out on 1 date with you and still give you some pussy. How do I know? How do I know that? Again, I hate to sound like a broken record. Do you know when it comes to women I've had casual sex with, not relationship sex, but strictly casual sex with, you know I've never taken a woman out on a date, like ever, not like one time, like not one fucking time, not one time. I've never, ever taken a woman out on a date for casual sex, ever. I've never taken a woman on a lunch date, dinner date, movie date, none of that. Next, go out on a date. Second thing, just engaging in the conversation. A lot of conventional PUAs and dating coaches who promote indirect verbal game, they'll have you believing if a woman is willing to engage in a friendly and flirtatious conversation with you that lasts 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, hour, longer, that there's a 90 to 99% chance you're going to end up fucking that woman. That's bullshit. A lot of women in my life that I've engaged in the longest conversations with, those are the smallest percentage of women that actually ended up fucking. Most of the women that I fuck casually, I never talk to them for more than 15 minutes. Real talk. I ain't gonna say all, but most, over 50%. I'll say over 50% of women I've had casual sex with, my first conversation with them lasted no more than roughly 15 minutes. And probably 90% of the women that my first conversation with them was an hour or longer, the best I got out of them was a tongue kiss. They didn't suck my dick. I didn't get no pussy from them. So a woman, first to recap, a woman agreeing to go out on 2 or more dates with you does not automatically mean you're going to get some pussy from that woman. A woman agreeing to engage in a conversation that's at minimum 20 minutes and as long as over an hour ain't gonna give you no pussy. Third misconception that indirect people help spread is that if a woman allows you to touch her in some kind of way and or tongue kiss her, that there's a 95, 99% chance you're gonna end up fucking that woman. That's bullshit. Everybody know about my infamous hotel story. I tongue kissed that woman, sucked on her tits, everything. She did not suck my dick. We did not end up fucking. I was talking about that on my recent last Patreon exclusive live stream. Man, do you know how many women that I've made out with in my life that never ended up sucking my dick or never ended up fucking? I'm talking about thousands. Literally. Not dozens, not hundreds, thousands. Yes. I made out in terms of just making out. Man, if we was to do numbers just based on how many women that each PUA or dating coach has made out with, not fuck, but just made out with, shit, I know for a fact I would be in the top 5, no less than the top 10%. I know for a fact I would. Shit, when it comes to making out with women, I done made out with thousands of women. I done had phone sex with over 2,100 women. Y'all remember that interview I did on the Erotic Conversationalist with a woman named Crystal, whose pseudonym was Nikki True? I put up an excerpt of that interview on my YouTube channel, either early this year or last fall. She was one of the women who admitted that. She was basically like a lot of conventional PUAs and indirect dating, verbal game dating coaches will have you believe that if a woman lets you touch her, particularly in her sensitive areas, that means she's interested in sex with you. No, that's not true. And Crystal admitted that, man. She admitted that she's a self-proclaimed cock teaser. She said, I've let hundreds of men. She told me, she said, Alan, I've let hundreds of men tongue kiss me that I never ended up sucking their dick or letting them fuck me. I've let men grab my tits that I never ended up sucking their dick or they never ended up fucking me. I've let men grab my ass, squeeze on my ass that I've never sucked their dick or they ended up fucking me. She said, because I'm a cock teaser. And the biggest point she made, she said the only way for a man to prevent me from being a cock teaser is to be mode 1. That's what she said during the interview. She said the only way to prevent me from being a cock teaser is to be mode 1. She said basically in so many words, she said, if you're mode 2 or mode 3 with me, I'm going to cock tease the shit out of you. That's what Crystal said. She said if a man is mode 2 with me or mode 3 with me, I'm going to cock tease the shit out of him. Like that woman, the woman I talk about in Possibility of Sex, the one who kept dropping her shower towel when I was in her apartment. She admitted that, similar to Crystal. She admitted that. She was another woman who admitted that. She said, I love to cock tease men and play with their egos. She said, that's like a sport to me. She said, for me and my girlfriends, that's like a sport. She basically was like, I just get off on knowing that I got a man's dick hard. And I got him horny. And I got him in a position where he wants very badly to fuck me. Because what is that going to allow her to do? What is that going to allow her to do? It's going to allow her to run game on that man. The number one time when a woman has the easiest time running game on a man is when a man has a strong, urgent, desperate desire to fuck her. Strong, urgent, desperate desire to fuck a woman. That's when he's in a prime position to get manipulated and have women run game on him. I've seen it happen in my face hundreds, if not thousands of times. See, I'm going to tell y'all something that I don't think a lot of you men understand. Tell you something that I think a lot of you men don't understand. And I know I've done at least minimum 2 or 3 videos on this very subject since I've been on YouTube. Here's where a lot of you men got women wrong. A lot of you men think that women are out here rubbing their hands together, can't wait, over anxious to reject you. That's how a lot of you men see women. Y'all see women as these, ooh, I can't wait for the next guy to approach me so I can just abruptly and harshly reject him and crush his ego. If you think that represents most women, then you've just revealed you really don't know women. At least not on the level that I do. Because here's the secret, if you want to call it a secret, and why Mode 1 is so beneficial. Most women are just the opposite. Most women are just the opposite.